Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joanne Lingerie, and I have Rosahlee with us today, in which we hi Rosahlee.
Hi.
We'll be interviewing her shortly. I do want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Luscious Moss Studio. It is owned and operated by my friend and producer, Chad Christ in Edgewood, Washington, and you can find him on Facebook, on the internet, by looking under either Luscious Moss Studio or Chad Christ. In the meantime, he has created a very collaborative and comfortable environment for creativity. He started out doing some production work, but mostly for guitarists and drummers, and that's kind of progressed over time. So if you have any needs at all for recording and you want a reasonable and honest place to go, Chad's place is it. Okay, with that being said, Rosahlee, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Well, I'm not sure yet. I'm still trying to wake up from last night. I was out jamming late. Yeah. Anyway, I met you, the first time I met you was over at the Oxford Saloon on jam night on Tuesday nights. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked what I saw. I liked what I heard. And I don't believe you had a chance to get up and sing at that particular time. Is that correct?
I don't think so. No, I think it was a totally full open mic by the time I got there, but it was really enjoyable seeing everyone perform, and you did a great job, of course.
Yeah, I have my own issues there, but Jerry is so good. He can do just about anything, thank goodness. So I'd like to know about you. I'm really curious about your background. I don't know. I see I have one person watching. Thank you. I don't know really a lot about your background, and I thought you did come back one more time to the Oxford. Was that you? Did I hear you come back one other time
I don't
and
think I was
play?
able to make it out since then, but hopefully soon.
So, what got you started with singer-songwriting, being a singer-songwriter and a musician, and creating your own music? And how did that all happen?
So I think for me, I have always really enjoyed, ever since I was very little, I would make up songs to sing to myself, kind of make up little lyrics and melodies, even when I was little running around on the playground. I think a lot of the creativity came from I I was a figure skater when I was younger, actually, and I loved
Oh,
improvising
cool.
on the ice to my
Yeah.
favorite songs. Yeah. So I think a lot of my performance abilities came from that, as well as my love of music, because you have to have music when you're skating to a program, of course. So I think it kind of came naturally, my love of music. And then when I got older, I finally picked up some instruments, and now we're here. So
So, on those picking up instruments, which one did you choose? Or ones, plural?
I I did have piano lessons when I was younger, on and off. I think a lot of kids have piano lessons, which is really good to get you started, give you
Yeah,
that
me too.
background. Yeah, that music theory background is so important. But when I was about, I think, 13 years old, I wanted to start really writing my songs and really solidifying them. So I picked up, actually, I think it was my sister's ukulele at the time. It kind of sat
Ah,
around. So I
I
wanted
have one
to
of those.
I wanted to pick up something that I knew would be easy for me to kind of jump right into learning and be able to express myself with my lyrics um, and build my playing abilities over time, but still being able to write songs that I loved, that I felt were true to myself. So,
So, I missed something. Maybe it's just because I didn't hear it, or what. My mind was somewhere else. I don't know. But how did you? I know you said you're a skater. Are you still a skater?
not anymore. It was something I grew up doing. Yeah, when I was
Good
in
training.
my childhood. Yes. Yeah.
I grew up in Minnesota, so we had a skating rink right in the middle of town, and every person that you can think of, from little toddlers on up to older people, all would go out there and skate. So I get it.
Yeah.
But the question is, There's a lot of music out there, and it's good skating music, obviously. So, what kind were you most drawn to? What was it that you were hearing and that you could apply to your skating and to the timing of skating? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of movement that goes in there.
I think a lot of skaters do skate to like more instrumental music, but
Yeah.
I always wanted to opt for something that had the lyrics in it because I felt like I could skate and tell a story to the lyrics that were in the
Yes.
song. Yeah, so that's kind of
So,
where I gravitated towards a lot of like oldies 70s music. I
yeah.
did a lot of skating too that I enjoyed and some
Can you
more
name
modern.
any of them? Can you name any of them?
Yeah, I really loved it was a song my mom introduced me to called Everything I Own by the band Bread. I loved skating to that one. Um, yeah, a lot of songs like that from that time.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's rock, basically rock music at that.
Yeah.
Okay. So was it safe to say that your interest was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s rock area?
I think honestly, I pick up on various songs from a lot of different eras. Like I love 50s and 60s oldies. I
Oh,
love a lot
I
of
love
the
you.
I love a lot of the ballads from the 70s and 80s as well. And yeah, so I kind of just when I was a kid picked up on miscellaneous songs that I connected with from various eras, I think.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not too many younger people, if I can use that phrase, but like to go back to the 50s and 60s. But you know what? There's some really good music coming out in all genres, not just country or which I am, but everywhere. And it was just transitioning from the crooners into rock and roll. And so it was a very exciting time, a lot of good music produced. And I do see that we have the hot rods to hear, Rodney Landert. Hi, Rodney. He has a country rock band, and he's a fiddle player. They
Oh
do some
wow.
really great music. If you ever get to catch them, do that. I believe on Saturday he's out at the Angels Wings Casino. Hopefully he'll let
Oh
me know if
wow.
that's correct. Yeah, and he really is very responsive. He'll come right on into the crowd when he can. Not there because of the stage and all, but when he's at someplace like the Oxford, he'll come down into the audience and make sure that people are participating with him. Anyway, hi Rodney, glad you showed up. So, when did you first play out? Like, were you solo? Did you have other people playing with you? Um, you said piano and ukulele. Do you play the guitar now?
I do. I picked up guitar more consistently a couple years ago. I think that was really inspired by when I did start doing a lot of more live gigs. I wanted to kind of diversify what I was playing. So I did a little bit of the ukulele, and then I've added a lot more guitar songs now, which is where I lean a little bit more
Mhm.
nowadays, and then a little bit of piano too, just to keep it interesting for the audience. And then there's, something for everything, something for everyone. And as far as when I first started performing and doing gigs, I started really going out when I was about 15, so a sophomore in high school.
Mhm.
Um, and I had a music teacher who would allow me to come do like short sets at her gigs to test out the performance side of things. And then over time, I met a lot of um, people who could get me booked at their restaurants or their coffee shops, and kind of just over time made those connections and started doing more of my own solo performances and gigs, which is a really fun thing for musicians and singer-songwriters like myself to do. And yeah, I started out a lot more solo. Nowadays I collaborate with other people who can accompany me. That's a hard word to say. I always have a hard time with that word. People who can play music with me. Sometimes I have someone who does a great job on like fiddle playing with me. Eric Cassarat, he's in the same kind of area that we play. He's amazing at what he does. And then I have my producer and bassist and percussionist, Darius Williams, who joins me sometimes, and he's also amazing. So it's nice to be able to kind of branch out more, get some of the solo performances as well as join with other people. It's really fun to do that and collaborate.
Right. Well, you definitely have one on me because I don't often do solo because I don't have a lot of all that finesse and the intermediate kind of lead licks and all this good stuff. I know them. And then when I'm home, I can play them. But when I get out in front of an audience, why don't they go away? Anyway, so I kind of avoid that, but I try to do it more and more because I think it's important. And I like one or two people accompanying me, but I also like playing in a band. So I get where you're coming from, and I think that's good practice. The more you play with other people and get out there and let people know who you are, the more accomplished you become. I really believe that. I think it's just a matter of practice, practice, practice.
Definitely, yes.
So when was your first playing gig? Where you actually got paid for what you do?
I honestly can't remember exactly where it was. I know it was back around the time I was 15, maybe 16, probably at a tap room or a restaurant. I can't quite remember, to be honest. It's been a lot more since then, so it's hard to keep track of. But yeah, it is something that I really do enjoy every time that I'm able to do it. It's a lot of fun. So,
Right.
yeah.
What are you currently doing as far as what are you looking, when you apply, what are you applying for? What kinds of things are you hoping to do? Like, do you hope to get a band at some point, or you want to continue with solo work? And how does that interact, these plans of yours, if you have any, and I'm sure you do, how does that interact with your singer-songwriting, your songwriting, sorry?
I think my main goal in the future would be to kind of become a touring artist, a recording touring artist. I would love to be able to take my music to other states, other countries even. So I think I love to do a little bit of a combination of the solo singer-songwriter as well as have a band that could join me on some sort of tour someday, really get into like a nice group and community, a team that I could hopefully take with me and keep recording my music so it can keep growing and extend beyond where I am at the moment. That would definitely be my dream.
Well, I do have to say a band is different than solo and writing and going in coffee shops. Um, you have a you have a team of people, and you're only as good as the players you're with. So I do
Definitely.
hope you do get there, and you do have that band. And
Yeah.
today, everybody seems to be, this is my take, that may not be out there, but it's my thoughts is that most people who are out there doing this have more than one band that they're committed to. And it gets to be a little hairy when it comes to touring and who you can get that'll go out there with you. So I wish you every luck in that endeavor.
Thank you.
So, did you get any encouragement for your journey at home? I know when I met you, your mom was there at the Oxford, and we talked a little bit. But she seemed to be in your ballpark. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, my parents are definitely very supportive of my music. I think I was kind of raised in a way where extracurriculars were very important, like doing things outside of just going to school. It was always either the skating or dance or now music. When I wanted to do music, they definitely supported me in that and helped me with kind of driving me to gigs when I was too young to drive and helping me find good equipment to use and hauling it to and from places. So I definitely appreciate their support in that way. It's very helpful when you have people backing you up.
Absolutely. And, most of the musicians in this North End, I don't get South very often, but most of the musicians up here in the North End are pretty much, and they have their inner struggles from time to time, but for the most part, they're just a real fun group to work with. Yeah, that's what I'm finding. So I understand. What kind of guitar do you use?
My guitar is a Big Baby Taylor. Yes, it's very nice sound. I love the warm sound to it, and it's kind of one of those guitars that almost anyone can play, and it would still sound beautiful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I thought about getting a tailor, but the kind of tailor I want has a price tag, and I've got champagne taste and beer pocketbook. So
Right, definitely.
yeah, so I was going to ask you about, have you the kind of venues that you're. I want to go back to that. The kind of venues that you're looking at right now. How do you go about getting the gigs that you've been getting? How is that? How is that? Is that a difficult process for you, or is it some people that know you and refer you, or?
I think it kind of depends on the venue. I've had a lot of great places where I go in and I meet the owners and hand off my information, and they get back to me right away. And then a lot of other places I'll go perform at one of their open mics and then kind of reach out to them after that. Or sometimes I'll know of a fellow musician who's performed somewhere and is like, hey, I really recommend this venue. It's great. They have a great sound system, or something like that. And they'll forward the information, and then I can reach out to them and get something set up, which is always exciting when it works out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, sound systems can be really tricky, and there are a lot of places that just don't have good sound. But then again, there are a lot of them that do now. I mean, as time goes by, these systems are getting better and better. And so I kind of try to find the ones that sound good and stay away from the ones that make me sound awful.
Yeah, there's definitely some places that want to support live music and then they don't have quite
Yeah.
the equipment yet.
No, right.
Yeah.
They progress, yeah. So I was going to ask you a question that slipped my mind. But um, it sounds to me like the way that you get your gigs, and I think this is important for singer-songwriters coming up, and it doesn't matter what age they are. It's always difficult to know how to go about getting the gigs and getting yourself out there, especially if you're not established 20, 30 years and people know you, right? And so what I hear you saying is that you go to jams and gigs and talk to the people that have heard you. And the other part is that you personally go into the clubs or whomever is doing this, and you give them your information, like your EPK or whatever. Is that correct? Or okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I think it can be kind of nerve-wracking when you start out doing that, especially like on your own and you don't necessarily, like as an independent artist, have someone like representing you and doing that for you. But it's really important to just kind of go and put yourself out there, test the waters, meet people. It's important to connect with people too. You want to show that you're interested in their venue because you enjoy the venue or the people who attend there. And if you show that you have that kind of connection, I think it's a lot more likely that they'll have that connection with you and want you to come play at their venue. And it's all about kind of also finding places where you can kind of support each other. Small businesses want to support local music, and local independent musicians also want to help support the small businesses, and it kind of helps to connect in that way and help each other out. And I think it's good just to start putting yourself out there and getting used to just saying, hey, I'm a musician. I love your venue. I'd love to come play. Here's my information. And eventually people will start getting back to you, and it really pays off.
Great. Great information. I think that's something that I have not been doing because I'm not a solo artist, but it's something I hope to do in the future. So even that information helps me as well.
Yeah, I think definitely it's also really important to any artists that are starting to look into booking gigs, whether solo or as a band. Business cards are really helpful. Having like quick ways to contact you or find your music,
Yes.
that's perfect for when you're trying to book those types of gigs and performances. Yeah.
Yes. I have all of those things, and I understand from marketing that That is, everybody does it different, but I'm finding that wineries and breweries and the places that I like to play are places that like that EPK. They like that letter, the letter of instruction, or you're being able to go onto your website and looking at your electronic press kit and
Yeah.
see what you've been doing and what people say about you. I mean, because they're not going to know you any other way, really, other than if you perform there and they've liked it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So moving on in the future, um, what I don't know how long you've been out there doing this. When I saw you, we didn't really get a chance to talk. Um,
Yeah.
that place is usually kind of busy, but I'd like to know a little bit about how long you've been out there and your thoughts about what you're doing at this point.
So I've been performing live probably for about 5 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think my goal right now is to just focus on continually producing and releasing good music that I'm proud of and improving my skill instrumentally, lyrically, vocally, and just sharing that with whoever would like to hear it at these gigs, at open mics, wherever. And yeah, hopefully just broadening my horizons, getting more people to hear my music. That's definitely just the main, I guess, goal at the moment.
Okay, we got another comment here. It says, you are a solo artist in your country hot. Well, yes and no. I work at it. I don't know about you, but nothing comes easy. I'm going to spend plenty of time working on my art. And I haven't really gone out there, unlike you, and done a lot of my originals. They're pretty complex and uh, not complex in the sense that it's difficult to play them, but it's difficult to try to get to fit them to that kind of venue after you've recorded. And that's another thing I wanted to ask you, where you record at. Are you producing these yourself, or are you going into a studio? And how many songs have you written during this period of time?
So when I first started recording, I was living down in Arizona. I
Oh,
worked, yeah, I
cool. I
worked.
love that place.
Arizona's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rodney. Excuse me. Yeah, Rodney. I know it's you. Thank you. Anyway, go ahead. You were in Arizona. I love Arizona. I went down there on a trip in 2019 and saw as much of the state as I could get to. What a place to learn to songwrite.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's where I was going to high school. And so when I was interested in producing some of my songs, I met a producer named Eric Marina at a open mic down there, and
Yeah.
the first few songs I did, few singles, and my first EP I recorded with him in his home studio. It was a really nice setup. Everything turned out really great. He did a great job with the songs. And my last few songs, I've been working with my producer, Darius Williams, and we kind of have been moving around a lot from place to place. He kind of goes from Arizona back and forth between here, and I'm
Yeah.
here sometimes down in Arizona. So it's kind of like, it's really a minimal setup, honestly, for the last few songs, like very minimal equipment, but just really focusing on how we can make it work from and basically at home studio. And yeah, so that's really interesting to kind of see that process and what's needed for recording and how to make some things sound like it came from a studio, even though it came from, your bedroom or your
Right.
music room, or yeah.
So, do you have them mastered? Do you master your songs for radio?
Um, my
Most
producer usually takes care of
of
doing
that.
the mixing and mastering. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get. How are we going to find these songs? How do we find your music?
So you can find my music on all music platforms. I'm under just my first name, Rosahlee, spelled Rosahlee. If you look that up, you can find me. You can also find my website, just rosahlee.com, and that'll link you to all my music. Right now, I just have music on digital and streaming platforms, but hopefully someday there'll be physical copies too. Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
That gets a little pricey.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, I have on my website, I have a place where people can buy the music, and they also sell it at Amazon. And the reason is that if you get it digitally where you can stream it, you can get it on your, while you're running, you can have it in your earbuds because you have it on your playlist. So that way, if you buy it for 99 cents, you have some privileges that you don't necessarily have with a CD.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think that's the way the industry is going. I, I had a friend I just bought a CD from, and he keeps asking me, "Have you listened? Have you listened?" But what he doesn't understand is I only have, I don't really have anything that plays the CD anymore.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
it's hard for me, and my car doesn't do it. My computers don't do it. So, and my
Yeah.
phone doesn't do it. So if it's on a Spotify or Amazon or someplace where I can, put it on my playlist, then I've got it and I can listen to it when I have time, like when I'm in my car. But if you have a CD, there's another problem there. A lot of people like a CD. I don't. End of story.
Yeah.
So what were you doing during this whole COVID business when in 2020 when they shut everything down? I know you live in that Mercer Island area, so you're kind of isolated from a lot of things, but yes and no. I mean, you're still you can still get where you need to go. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, so the question is, how did that affect you? And not just musically, but if you were writing songs at that time, which I'm assuming you were, how did that whole ordeal? How did you get through that? What were you thinking?
Um, that was definitely a very interesting time for me personally because I went from really ramping up my music in 2019, early 2020, doing a lot of gigs as well as lots of choir concerts and things at school to just nothing. And it was definitely a big contrast. And I definitely had a hard time getting back into it at first because I was so, I guess, vocally out of shape, and
Yeah,
it had been hard. It had been hard to get back into it, but I was writing songs even when everything was shut down, even if I felt like I wasn't at my best singing abilities because I had been a little bit out of practice. I still would sit down and just write because at that time there wasn't anything else to do. Everything was
okay.
shut down and everyone was just at home. So I tried to make the most of it when I was at home and write some songs just at the keyboard. And I also released a lot of music then too, because a lot of people were still doing recording studios rather than the live performances. That's when I
Right.
released my EP, my first EP. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of recording at that time and no
So
live performances.
I hear you. Would you like to play for us? What I'm going to do is I will get off so the whole screen is yours. And this, I want to tell everybody that might be listening either now or later when they get home, that this is not the best place to put your music out, but it gives you a flavor, it gives you an idea of what the artists do and what Rosahlee will be doing. So are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. So I'm going to, you can go ahead and get your stuff. I'm going to go ahead and remove me, and I will come back. I won't let you hang. All right, here we go.
Okay. Maybe I'll unplug my headphones.
Yeah, the problem is I can't hear you when you unplug them.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yep, I can.
Perfect.
Okay. I'm gone.
All right, I'll be playing my most recent single put out on all the music platforms, If She's Here. And this is a song that I kind of wrote about feeling like when you need to compare yourself to somebody else or just kind of those emotions that go into it. But I wanted to kind of contrast that with a more upbeat sounding song. I really enjoy the lyrics that are kind of relatable and
meaningful, but like with a very upbeat instrumental. And so that's kind of where this song came from. I hope everyone enjoys it. And if you like it, you can listen to it on all various music platforms afterwards. All right, this is If She's Here.
Excuse me, Rosahlee. Before, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we can't see your guitar. Is there any way you can bend? Yeah.
I mean, I can put the camera down just a little bit.
Yeah. Here we go. All right.
Perfect. Okay, here we go. Probably tastes like cherries. She's prettier than I'll ever be. That's fine. She's easier for you to talk to. She's always right there for you. So how can I ever compete if she's if she's here? She's like a warm cup of tea, perfect for a rainy day. She just takes your breath away, and she dances through the storm. She's always there to keep you warm. She's a so how can I ever compete if she's here? If she's here. If she's
Oh, thank you, Rosahlee. What was the name of the song again?
That one is called If She's Here.
If She's Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
You play.
So tender. Good beat. Well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. For all you folks out there who will be listening or are listening now, I hope you enjoyed that. Rosahlee is 5 years into her music, and it's a long journey and road out there. We have someone who says excellent performance. So that's
Thank you.
that's high regard. I believe that was probably Rodney. I do see him on here. And the next thing I wanted to ask you about was what kinds of input did you get when you started performing as far as helped you? Yeah, it was. He liked it. It was Rodney.
Oh, thank you.
And he's a pro. I mean, this guy's good. You'd have to hear him sometime to know. But if you want to look him up, just go to the Hot Rosters band and
Yeah.
you'll find him.
Definitely will do.
So Uh, what was like, I would say, what were your moments or your aha moments about uh, the feedback that you were getting from the crowd that made you say to yourself, I think I'm on the right track. And I think that what I'm writing is obviously um, the right kind of stuff for me at this time.
Um, One moment that definitely comes to mind is I was performing at a venue in Bellingham, and I think there was someone in the audience who came up to me afterwards and said he really appreciated one of my songs and how it meant a lot to him and how it was kind of making him like tear up, and it made him feel a lot of things because he related to it and connected with it and connected with the performance. And I think that meant a lot to me because sometimes as musicians, independent musicians, we think, oh, I need more people to hear my music. I need more people to
Right.
like my songs, and I need to be more known. And I think for me, it means a lot just that one or two people maybe could connect with my songs in the first place. Like that is so meaningful to me. The fact that anyone would feel that connection to the lyrics or the music that I write and have those emotional reactions to it, even if it's not millions of people, just one or two like coming to me and sharing that it mattered to them is really nice to hear and means a lot.
That's a good answer, and I agree with you 100%. And, I have my songs out there like you do, so I do have statistics and analytics to look at, and I can see how many people, especially on YouTube, are listening, or Spotify, for instance. And it doesn't matter how many people you have out there in in some ways, because that doesn't necessarily mean that's the whole picture. That's just one snapshot. And it can be very discouraging when you put all this time in, and you put your heart and soul out there to see 50 people when you'd like to see a heck of a lot more.
Right?
But I think you got a great attitude, because it is about that one person that you touch. Um, that is so important, because if they can relate to your song, it means something. It might have changed your life. That to me, anyway, that's the purpose. That's what it's all about. And I got a guy on here that's been a buddy of mine after I was out jamming in Duval. His name is Bob Kettrick, and he is now performing, and he teaches piano. And I don't know about singing. You have to tell me, Bob, if that's correct. And he says, hi, Joy and guests. So I think he means you, Rosahlee.
Hello.
Yeah, it's nice to see you on here, Bob. Thank you for tuning in. Have you had any bad experiences in the 5 years since you've been out there doing this? And things, you don't have to tell gory details or anything like that, but has there ever been a time when you thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing up here? What have I done?
I mean, I think definitely everyone has those experiences. One that definitely comes to mind is a performance I did where I think there was like a miscommunication about what sound equipment was going to be there. And then it was kind of like there was some there, but it didn't quite work right. And it was cutting in and out through my half-hour set. And I don't know. I think it's
Yeah,
it's not always your fault if something goes wrong with the sound, but you're like, oh gosh, it's
yeah,
cutting in and out. People probably think I'm like somehow a bad musician, and
yeah.
what am I doing? Like, there's always that feeling of stress and that. But it's all about remaining calm and collected, which a lot of people noticed that I still held it together, even though inside I was like, ah, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that's what it's about. You got
Yeah.
it, girl. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But to me, the most important part of performing, other than personal things, is to have a good sound man and to be singing in a good sound system. Because if
Yeah.
I can't hear myself, or that stuff is not where it should be, it's just a downer. And even though it might sound great to the people out there, to me, I know it's not. And so it bothers me. But I've learned to shake it off and deal with it. It's been a long time. When I
Yeah.
first started 20 years ago, I started in 2000. Oh my gosh. The sound equipment was anything like it is today. It was horrid.
Yeah.
So I got a few more comments. somebody says, "Nice to meet you, Bob Ketwick." That's probably Rodney talking to Bob. So, do you have? I mean, we kind of touched on this before. You didn't really elaborate because I wasn't digging into it as much. But do you have like a 1 to 5 year plan? Now, some people, I say this, say, I hope I'm alive, in 5 years from now. But, you're just at the beginning of your journey. You have many years to go. You have a whole life to experience out there. If God's willing, or whatever higher powers out there is willing. Do you have any specific idea from between this 1 to 5 year thing that you'd like to share with us, or that you've thought about?
I think my next goal is probably to work on a debut album at some point in the future. I want to take my time with that as much as possible, though, because I want it to be really authentic and really good quality when I put out an album. Singles are kind of a thing I think you can experiment with more, which is a lot of what I've done, whereas an album is like, that is a testament to who you are as an artist, especially. So that's definitely something I want to work on, is putting my songs together and really making my first album and making it count. And hopefully by then I'll have enough of that, I guess, fan base is what you would call it, I guess, to go around and share my music in other places as much as possible and connect with and reach out to as many people as I can. And I think that's definitely the main goal, to focus on recording the music and kind of take it one step at a time. And I think it's really important to me that I'm also happy with the music that I put out, which can be, I think, hard for artists to do, for sure. It's a challenge. There's always something that we want to be perfectionistic about, but yeah, I want to keep putting out music that I'm proud of and
represents you, right?
Yeah. Perform as much as possible too is a big one. I love performing. I love performing my songs that I write. That's my favorite, performing original songs. So keep doing that and really enjoying it as much as possible. So
how do you react to or maybe you've never experienced this, but have you ever had an experience, and how did you react to it, where the people are chatting and don't appear to be listening to what you're singing?
I mean, at that point, all you can do is get up there and share. And if people want to listen, then that means that they like it. If they don't, doesn't mean they dislike it. They could just be doing something else. And I still get to be up there performing. So I'm enjoying myself because I'm still doing what I love at the end of the day and singing the songs that I write. And that in itself, just getting up there and putting yourself out there, is an accomplishment, at least for me.
Absolutely. Yes, yeah. I agree with you. So I've got 2 more comments here, if you excuse me while I read them. But it says, this from Electric Dave. He's a friend of mine, and every year I get to see him at what they call a Chronopalooza. And it's a place where all the musicians gather all day long for I think it's like 2 weekends. I'm not sure. Maybe Dave can correct me on that. And every band or solo artist gets to perform. It's down in the Tumwater area, and he's sound man, and his name is Electric Dave. That's his singing name. He also lead guitarist, and he says sound can be like playing Russian roulette. You have to have someone you trust, because things can happen unexpectedly. Oh yes, Dave, I can relate to that this summer. we had a problem hearing ourselves, but they've got it fixed. So. And then it says, no, that's Bob talking to your guest. I only teach piano and guitar. So I believe that he does do the piano. He does do the Bob Ketwick, and not singing. So anyway, that takes care of those. Liked your answer. And yeah, I've experienced this. In fact, in the last place I jammed at, people actually walked out onto the patio, and I didn't know if they were out there to smoke or whether they were going to come back and throw a beer bottle to sing.
Oh. It's always easy to, when you're up there, think the worst thing. It just
Yes.
pops into your head, and you just have to remember, like, you're up there because you're good at what you do and you love it, and other people have things going on. They probably were just taking a smoke.
You know, when that happened to me, there were people there. There were people, including the bartender, that really enjoying it. So that was, I look for, sometimes when those things happen, I look for people that are responding to me, and then I respond to them, and
Definitely.
pretty soon, others join, so forth.
Yeah. It's really
So
easy to have that kind of negativity bias and notice the people who maybe aren't paying attention or in their own conversations rather than the people who are looking at you, watching you, and wanting to connect with you. They
Right.
don't look at you and pay attention like for no reason. It's because they're looking to connect with the artist who's sharing their art with them. So that's
Exactly.
really important to remember.
Yes. And I have a friend, his name is Lynn Sorensen, and he holds the jams out in Duval, but he has jams everywhere. And he used to play as a bassist for a few years with Bad Company. And he was telling me from the beginning, when I had no idea who he was. Had I known, I might have been a little more careful. And I got up there in his rock show and I started singing country. And what he basically said to me was, I like the fact that you can sell a song, that you get out there and you touch people with your music, even though it isn't perfected. And it's just a little rock because nobody knew what the heck I was playing. And so I've always thought about that. So I went home and I looked that up and I read about it, and it said, you could be the best guitarist or pianist or musician or whatever instrument you have, and do everything perfect and everything right and have a stellar performance, but you've lost your audience if you cannot um, connect with them when you're singing that song. It doesn't have to be perfect for people to like it because you're connecting with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who are listening, they don't know your song, so they don't know, oh, she didn't sing that exact
Yes,
note perfectly. She
that's
missed
right.
that one strum. Like, they're
That's
not
right.
thinking about that. They're just thinking about the art that they get to experience. That is a unique experience for them and the artist.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that because they're seeing you, they're seeing how your nonverbal behavior, they're seeing your verbal behavior, and they're watching you, and they're trying, they want to connect. People just, I don't care where you go, there's always that group of people that want to connect with you.
Yeah.
They want to be eye contact, they want to be able to clap and let you know
Yeah.
how they're feeling. Yeah. So I think that's probably the second most important thing when it comes to music is your sound, and then how you and your audience respond to each other.
Definitely.
Good
Yeah.
song delivery is everything.
Yeah.
So moving on from that, um, now that you've started this journey and you have kind of an idea where you want to go, you're creating your own music. Do you ever feel like you're losing the audience because you're not playing covers and you're not playing music um, that they know, for instance, or because music brings back memories. Covers have that people may not necessarily remember all the words or how the song goes, but they remember the memory of what happened during when that song came on, right? So
Yeah.
that is, going out and putting your own stuff out there. I would think that would be something I'd be watching to see how they're responding. So I like to know how they respond to you.
I've noticed a lot of times when I do like longer gigs, 2-3 hours, I usually do a couple of covers in there,
Um,
a lot of the oldies or songs that everyone can kind of connect with from
Relate to.
various generations. All types of people can connect with. So when I'm doing the longer sets, I usually like to do those. But for shorter sets, I opt more to share my original music. And I have noticed a lot of people do come up to me and say, "Your originals, like, you're great at the covers you do are great, and I like those songs you did, but your originals, I can tell you really enjoy performing those." And everyone is enjoying hearing that because they can see that it's something that is coming, from within, I guess, so to
Yes.
speak. And I think a lot of people connect with that more because they see how authentic it is when somebody is writing, especially when someone writes the songs like completely by themselves or maybe just with one other person. It's coming from who they are as a person, and there's something very special about being able to share that. And I think a lot of people can pick up on that. Maybe some people not as much. They want a song that they can sing along to, which is why I sometimes do the covers. But it really is nice when I perform originals and people come up and they're like, everything you did was great, but I loved the originals. That means a lot for sure.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of bases. It's now, it's been 50 minutes into this interview, and we've had a response from the audience, and we've talked about a lot of things. So, and even though you've answered this, I still want to put it out there. Um, Based on your experience in the 5 years you've been out there doing your originals and going into these places like coffee shops, and you play breweries and wineries as well, or?
Yeah.
Yes. What advice would you give the people out there listening, even old timers? I mean, they're still learning too. There's never any process. I swear to God, this is not something you just do and it's over. It's something you continue to learn, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is, what would you like to? What advice would you like to give us? What would you like to share about this 5 years?
I think what I've learned is that the most important thing is an artist, a performer, a songwriter is to be really authentic and be yourself, because you're the only person who can do that. You're the only person who can write the song that you write. Nobody else came up with that. Like, you could have similar chords to somebody else or maybe a similar style, but nobody is going to write the songs that you do. So that is number one. Connect with your music and make sure it's true to who you are. That tells people a lot about yourself, and it tells them right off the bat whether or not you are someone that they would want to listen to and follow on your music journey. I think something else is you have to be comfortable to just put yourself out there. There's going to be times where you feel like you didn't get the gig or the role or whatever you were hoping to get. But you have to kind of just pick yourself up and keep going, and eventually things work out, because it's all about working hard and staying on track and really kind of being focused and being willing to let yourself, I guess, fail, so to speak. Not that I think putting yourself out there is a success in itself, but letting yourself get like those rejections and those fails, because then you can move forward and find your niche even more so. And that's how you kind of find your place in the music world, in my personal opinion.
I
For
agree.
sure.
I
Yeah.
agree wholeheartedly. So when it comes to songwriting, we never really touched on this throughout this conversation. Where do you get your material? How does that come to you? How do you develop a song? What are the things that, do you have a hook or some idea of how you're going to draw people in to listen or to that particular song?
I
So what
think
is your strategy?
it's definitely different every time. Sometimes I'll come up with a chord progression that I think is if invokes a certain emotion, and I'll write based on that feeling and how I connect to that. Or sometimes a lyric will come into my mind first, something I'm going through or something I heard somebody else went through, and I'll base a song off of that. It does depend. Like, melody could come first, lyrics could come first, or chords could come first, and then I kind of build something around wherever that first start came from, and then I kind of just go from there. And then as far as, I think, writing and where the inspiration comes from, I think a lot of it just comes from the feelings I have and what I'm going through in my life, or even just stories I've heard from other people can be a source of inspiration. Hearing the things that other people have gone through, you don't necessarily have to have a lot that you've gone through or experienced to be
Right.
eloquent and articulate and share those emotions. You don't have to exactly even relate to your own music to relate to the emotion behind it.
Right.
So I think that's just where my inspiration comes from, just feelings in general.
So if you were going to put a label on your music, what genre would you call it? can you put it? I mean, like when I go, I do CD Baby. So they ask me, well, what kind of music is this? Country rock, whatever.
Yeah.
So where do you place yourself when your music?
I would say I'm like indie pop, like singer-songwriter. I think also there's a little bit of folk influences in some of my songs too, because folk is so based on the storytelling, and that's something I really enjoy when I'm writing songs. So something between indie pop, singer-songwriter, folk. That's definitely my specialty. I also have a little bit influences of rock music in a couple of my songs. I love listening to rock music. I don't necessarily have the edgy persona for it, but I do really enjoy the really amazing guitar riffs that some people can pull
Yeah.
off, and I love adding that into my songs whenever possible. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, when I write, I try to tell a story. I mean, I'm kind of old school that way. I like the country people that were telling these stories. I don't know if you've ever heard anybody called Marty Robbins. He's a country singer that he wrote El Paso, which was a song about a cowboy who fell in love with the barmaiden and in the end he gets shot. Um, but my genre is country, so it's a little bit different. And I'm not sure I know what indie rock is. I've heard the term. I've heard other artists tell me what it is. I'm still like, okay, what is this really?
Indie is kind of just like a shortened version of like independent, and it kind of became like a little bit of its own genre
Oh,
just
okay.
because independent music has kind of a different sound than
Yeah.
like a commercial record label music would have.
Right. Right.
So it's kind of like pop is short for popular, but then pop kind of became its own genre in a way.
Yeah.
So kind of same with indie and independent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. I get it.
Yeah.
That was the best explanation I've heard so far about it. Good explanation.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, we're almost at the end. I don't have a lot more questions for you.
I think I'm losing you. I don't know if you're still there.
I there you are. It just I think
I can hear you again, but the camera's okay. I think I see you and hear you
yeah,
again.
it's just a glitch. It's raining out there. So, what are the parting words? What parting thoughts would you like to give us since for the 5 years that you've been in music, about 5 years that you've been in music, and um, just anything you want to throw in there that you want to tell people about you and your music?
I think I just I really I really love just being able to share how I feel in my songs, and I think that my goal is to also make music that a lot of people can connect with. So whatever age you are, um, whatever your background is, I think I try to make a song for everyone. So feel free to check out my various songs and see if there's anything that you enjoy there. I also did notice we got a question from Bob
Yeah.
where
Yes.
people
Yes.
can hear my originals. So if you just look up my name, Rosahlee, Rosahlee, on any music platform, I'm on there, whether it's Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon, anything you can find me just by searching my first name. Yeah, and then you can also go to my website, rosahlee.com, and you'll be able to find links to my music there as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rosahlee. Thank you for coming today and sharing with us. I truly enjoyed this.
Yeah, so did I. Thank you for
It's
having me.
It's really fun. It's really fun talking to you. And I hope, maybe 6 months to a year from now, we can do it again. And you might be able
Yeah.
to in a whole new place and give us an update on where you're at.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love that. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. One last comment on Electric Dave and Marty Robbins. Yes, he definitely wrote a lot of gunslinger songs. And I'm pretty sure Rosahlee can relate to that too, because she lived in Arizona. So I'm sure she was aware of the culture, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. We have about 50 seconds to go. So anyway, you take care. I wish you every luck, and hopefully we'll see you in the future, and I'll catch you
Yeah,
live.
yeah,
So
definitely. I hope
do
to run
put on
into you sometime.
yeah, well, put on mature musicians too. Whenever you have a gig, that'll help. Uh, Hopefully, people will want to come to see you. I know I do. So I'm sure
Yeah,
there's others. All right, girl.
definitely. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for having me. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to block you here. Well, that was interesting. I just first met that girl and I thought this is a girl who has some idea where she wants to go. And she definitely has it, whatever it is. So I do have Rod Cook from the several bands, but the Dusty 45s, I believe he plays lead for. And I do hope you tune in next Monday. In the meantime, we'll see you down the road and stay safe. I'm going to end it. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends.